Hello, Beekeeper friends. I'm sorry that we're a little late tonight. My daughter Amber had a basketball game, and unfortunately, I've been talked into assisting coaching. So I'm doing. We're doing a little basketball also. But appreciate everybody being here tonight. We're going to do a open chat, so anyone's welcome to come on. We'll get Lee to post that in the chat, and you guys are welcome to come in. So, Spanky, how you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing all right. I was going to tell you, I was waiting until we got on here. Happy birthday.
Oh, I didn't think I was going to get by with it, but I appreciate everybody saying happy birthday to me on the chat. I do appreciate that, guys. Thank y'all so much. So it doesn't feel good getting older. I'll be honest with you. It's every year rolls by is faster, and everybody knows how that feels. And you hurt more for some reason. Why I don't know. But um, we just grin and bear it and get through it. That's all we can do. So,
Yep.
Tim, I appreciate that, and there's a lot of people saying happy birthday. We do appreciate that so much. And, Spanky's been raining down at your place. It's been pouring at the house.
Yeah, it's been raining really bad up here.
Right. Yeah, it's been pouring. The rivers are up. Snow's melting off. We ain't got no snow left now. It has absolutely melted off. 59 degrees tonight up here, so that's very unusual.
Well, we never had no snow to melt.
Right. What's your weather like, Lee, man?
Rainy. Been raining started Monday night, and it hadn't really stopped much. We rained out of work yesterday and rained out early again today.
And
So
from what the
I've just been
the
doing a bunch of
radar is,
cleaning.
it's just continuing up from your area there, right? Just out of the south, just keeps hammering you guys, right?
Yep. Yeah, Texas was getting it pretty bad. Now it's on us.
Hmm.
But temperature wise, we're doing pretty decent here.
Okay. So what are you guys doing tonight? Probably right around 60?
Some reason I got a button here ain't working, so I'm gonna have to pull it up manually.
You got
there
all
we
them
go.
screens?
64 degrees.
There we go. Yeah.
There
So
we
yeah,
go.
we're getting a lot of that warm weather coming up this way from you guys. So
Now, I believe yesterday we hit about 73, so we were doing good for yesterday.
wow, that's awesome.
If the
Spanky,
rain would just move.
what's temperature down there, Spanky?
It says it's 56 right now.
Oh wow, we're warmer on the mountain than you are. That's pretty cool. So I'm gonna bring Tom in here with us and see what he says about his weather in his area up there. What's going on, Tom, man?
Hey, Ricky and Spanky and
Hey,
Lee.
Yeah, you
It,
doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I've been out in the barn watching the other ones. Now I'm back in the office. It's
Mm,
57 here, raining. It's been raining 7 of the last 8 days.
mm.
And I think today's the last day, but then rain again Saturday. So we get 1 day break and then more rain. It's been crazy.
Yeah, if Lee would be nice and just keep it all down to the south, I might be able to get my bees and do some work. That's what I want
Uh-uh.
to do, especially this warm weather.
I
Yeah,
think Texas needed to keep it and not send it to me.
I couldn't believe it. I was sitting in my office all day and I wanted to get up. It was 57 degrees and it was foggy, really foggy. And fog finally lifted around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I would have had like 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Well, I get home at 4 o'clock. Right when I pull in the driveway, it start raining again.
Yeah, yeah. Just can't do
So it's
nothing
like,
with it being like this. I mean, you want to do something, but it's just tough. I just don't even chance it. So I've got a lot of hobbies to build now, so I've had plenty of time to with the cold weather and stuff to kind of keep working on those. So that's been kind of nice. So
yeah,
We had a couple of cool days last week. Let's see. Monday night we had a little rainstorm come through, but it was freezing. So we ended up. They told us not to even come in work Tuesday morning because of the ice on the roads. They shut schools and everything down here. Now Wednesday we went to work and it was 18 degrees whenever I showed up,
right.
but it moved on out.
Yeah, I'm like Evelyn right there. I'm ready for summer. Let's just skip this
yeah.
spring stuff. Let's go to summer. Come on.
I don't know. Summer get pretty rough down here too. I like spring and fall.
Sure.
So next Friday, it's supposed to be 53 and sunny here, Southwest Ohio. So I plan on getting in all the hives and checking on them.
Hey there,
Yeah.
Phil. How you
Hey.
doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey,
Hey,
Phil
Phil.
just hit 2,000 subscribers. If people don't know that, wow, that was awesome.
Yeah, congrats,
Thanks.
Phil.
Thank you.
No,
It's
now
a
on
it's a
video.
milestone, to get that far. And I can remember when I had my first couple subscribers, I was so excited. Hey, I've got some subscribers, and and now when you start getting on up, it's like it's an accomplishment, and you appreciate everybody that watches you, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
And
but
actually,
just-
Navi is the one that put me over because I did a live walkthrough, and
Yeah.
I got like over 60 subscribers just from that.
wow.
So,
Wow. That's awesome. And to be honest with you, Philip, you're a really good guy, and I got to meet you at the Nobby, and I met you the last time. I got to spend more time with you, and it's an enjoyment. Actually, to be honest with you, I think I spent 2 hours watching your videos the other day.
Oh boy.
I just kept clicking them and watching them. I'm like, I didn't know he had that many subscribers, and he's got some really good content. So if you're not subscribed to
thanks.
Philip, go do it, man. It was good stuff.
Man, locked up.
And
Yeah, if you want to send any of that warm weather up here, Lee, I'll take it. I mean,
You ain't snowed in, are you?
it's melting. We're down to probably about 6 inches or so here. But yeah, it's been about 36 all day today.
Mm.
So,
Now, Ricky, you said you had about 22 inches of snow total the other day, huh?
Yeah, we had about 22 inches of snow at my house. My mom and dad's a couple 100 feet above sea level above me, and they got 26 feet of snow when it's all together. So the rivers have really gotten up because of all that snowpack melting off.
Mm-hmm.
right.
yeah,
What's going on in your area, Ed? How's things going out there where you're at?
Not a whole lot. I mean, it's 66 degrees right now, but raining off and on.
Had you had a chance to mess with your bees any, or are you just kind of letting them hang out still?
I've been cracking a lid, looking at the top of them, and seeing how they've been doing. They're last time I looked at them, 2 of my hives had six frames of brood in them. They're double deeps.
Right.
Hey, Ricky, that was 26 feet or 26 inches of snow?
Sorry. 26 inches. You know how hillbillies are. We can't talk sometimes. So that's why I do these live chats, because it gives me some practice talking with people. So, yeah, 26 inches, guys, not 26 feet.
I'm gonna have to go out and come back in, guys. I'm lagging on the video part of this thing.
All right.
Anybody else looked into their hives? I did peek into one of the horizontals that had a glass window, and they looked fine, so I didn't mess with them. Anybody else peeking into the hives today?
Well, when it was raining, I peeked in about 4 or 5 of them. Just cracked it and saw bees or heard the bees, and that was all I needed to know.
yeah,
Nope.
I had my FLIR out last week, but I'm gonna wait until next week. It's supposed to get up into the mid 40s here and stop raining, so I'll wait and crack the lids and see if they need some more feed.
Which FLIR are
That's what
you
I'm doing,
using?
Same thing, Phil.
I am using. I got the FLIR 1 Pro.
Okay, that's the same one I got.
This one.
Sorry about that, guys. I was trying to pin that message up to the top. I finally got it there. What's that you got there, Lee, man?
Got the FLIR 1 Pro.
Oh, okay.
That's what I used last week, I believe it was. It was a little cool weather, so I went out there just to check the hives with that, make sure I was still getting heat signatures. And even on my hive, I've still got 4 supers on it. The majority of the heat signature was still coming from the bottom of the hive. They hadn't even really moved up in it yet.
That's good.
Yeah, so far it looks like the bees for me, they haven't really eaten a lot of stores. We have been cold, but just haven't used a lot this year, so that's pretty cool.
I thought I still had the picture on here. I was going to bring it up.
Yeah, I did open up the one I built horizontal hive, and one whole sugar brick wasn't touched, and the other one's about 50%. That's about it.
Joey, how's things going down in your area, brother?
Raining, man, raining. About to float off.
Down there in the Flatwoods, that happens from time to time.
Yeah.
Did you get in your bees any, Joey, or did you just let them hang out?
I got into them the other day a little bit. I was going to do some rotating my hive bodies.
Uh-huh.
And I got a video coming out on it, but I really didn't need to rotate them too much, so I just kind of backed off of it.
Okay, I got you.
Most of the time, this time of year, the bottom box is pretty much empty, but it had a lot of bees in it. Some even had brood in them, so I just called it quits.
Right. I did notice that this hive above my head has moved all the way over to the corner, and I'm wondering if that queen ain't laid some brood in this hive. I did put a little piece of pollen patty in there, so if there is a queen, then maybe they're on a little bit of brood. They have actually moved. So, What's going on, Bob, man? Bob Walker. So, Philip, besides all the rain, what's your big plans what's your goals for this year? What you got in mind?
Well, right now I got down to 43. I went in the winter with 45 colonies. I got a orchard and another small farm for pollination. So I'm going to be doing some splits in the spring. I'll probably get myself up to around 100 hives. Wow. And because that's just the 2 pollinations going to take probably 40 hives right there just between the 2 places. So
yeah, you sound like me. I'm gonna try to push to the 100 mark this year. And
yeah,
after listening to Joseph Rollins there, I feel like that may be a mistake, but sometimes you got to learn your mistakes, right, Joey?
Yeah.
Ain't no mistake. It's just a happenstance.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I'm planning it out right where it's like I'm doing everything with the pallets, and I'm building myself a lift to put on the trailer to lift the pallets and all that onto a trailer. So I'm trying to make it as easy as I can on myself.
Well, that's awesome. At least you've got a plan and a goal set up for this year. I know I heard what Joey. Me and him talked a while back about his goals for some of the spring. But Ed, what about you? What's your goal for this year? What you got in mind? I mean, spring's right around the corner, and you got all of your equipment ready. I mean, what you got going on?
Well, I'm still working on equipment. But my main objective this year is to I want to grow a little bit. I'm trying to streamline it to where I'm selling bees to make income till the honey comes in. I'm just trying to do nuke sales and not heavy splits, but splitting some of the hives, making doing some growth. I went from 2 hives last year to 10 and still came up with 400 pounds of honey on the year. So I know it can be done, grow and make some money, make some honey with honey money.
Mm-hmm. What's going on with you, Charlie, tonight?
Oh, not much. It hasn't rained. Well, it has rained here a little bit last night and pretty much got rid of all the snow. And it's foggy because it's 51 degrees right now. And it's supposed to really rain, I guess, Sunday. Seemed like I was looking at the radar. It seemed like where you guys are getting it, it's kind of going right straight out to the ocean. So it's not hitting me right yet. So I just want to say hey to everybody in the chat there, Russell and Let's see, Tracy.
They got Sarah in the chat also tonight. I mean,
Yeah.
Randy's there. A lot of good beekeepers in the chat. And speaking of that, if you guys haven't listened to Lee's thing with Brian from what is his
Flower
his-
Street.
Flower Street.
Fire Street, yeah. You know, I get to talk to people, but that sit down with him really amazed me. It actually makes me think that, man, you guys in the chat are way smarter than I am. I mean, we got some talented beekeepers on these chats that kind of sit back and don't say a lot sometimes, and or do make some comments. But that thing that Lee put up with Brian was really good. I got to listen to all of it in the car, and I enjoyed every bit of it. So we appreciate you guys in the chat very much.
Yeah, I'm working my way through it yet too. So
Yep. It's long, but you know, if you're traveling back and forth to work like I am, it's a good time to listen to those chats and listen to other beekeepers. And you know, I don't comment all the time, but I listen to a lot of these guys that are in the chat. You know, and it's really good listening to people. I enjoy it. So
Yeah, I listen to it while I'm working a lot of times. That's what I was doing with Lee, but I got a little busy, so I think I missed half of it. Because
Yeah.
I start working, I go, oh, I didn't even hear what he said the last 20 minutes.
yeah, I do that a lot of times.
Walking out.
I'm working,
Wouldn't it
but
be fun if we
sometimes
could
I'm
all
missing
get in
things.
the same bee yard together?
What's that, Joey?
I said, wouldn't it be fun if we could all get in the same bee yard together?
Oh man, that would be unbelievable.
Yeah.
Depends on how mean them bees are.
Well, didn't you guys, Joey? Didn't you go down? Didn't Mr. Ed or was it somebody had a big get together and had a bunch of beekeepers meet up with him? Who was it did that?
Greg Burns did.
Yeah, I remember Greg
Yeah,
Burns.
we used to go help Mr. Ed all the time.
Yeah.
And way back
Sometimes during
when,
the rotation, sometimes during just
used to be JP the bee man
I
down
think I
there.
got a big.
Yeah.
They used to get a big thing together years ago. There's
Yeah.
Bob Walker.
Long time
Jason,
listener.
Jason did a BBQ.
Yeah, that was really good. Jason with the BBQ, I enjoyed that for sure.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, and I hope to do that something here, just so everybody here on the, you know, as soon as we get our building built, and get more on the production line, and since Ruth's gonna let me quit my job, hopefully she's listening tonight. I hope to throw a big party here in Carolina, and everybody's welcome, invited. We'll invite everybody over, and we'll have a really good time with each other.
I told you, Ricky, at the show, I'd be there. It's pouring at my house right now. I can hear it through this speech, through the talking here.
Right.
Ricky C
Down
might
on
be
the roof.
We might just all meet down there at Bob Walker's place. He's a little closer, probably to everybody in South Carolina. How's it going, Bob?
going good. Well, see, Ricky can testify that when he was here, I was the only one that got stung. Ricky, my nephew didn't get stung. I was the only one. So
Bob was a champ, man. He really took a bunch of stings, and he would kind of scritch up, and he'd just release. And, you know, I'm like, man, I could not do that at all. And he finally lit his smoker, and I don't know if it helped, did it, Bob?
no, and you know, I was kind of talking about that with somebody today, is that sometimes the bees are like, today it was rainy and cloudy when I did the live. I don't know that the smoker would have done anything anyway, because by the time you pop that inner cover or pull back the Reflectex, you know, they just kind of come out already. So you don't even have time to put smoke in there, and they're already up on you. But
plus, they're all winter bees already. So I mean, they're going to be a little bit more aggressive.
little older bees right now, right?
Yeah.
So, but for the most part, my bees look pretty good today. There's some things that concern me, but we did a kind of a breakdown. So I was talking to Brad after my little live this morning, and he made a comment that, hey, what happened like 12 to 12 to 16 days ago, because he noticed cap brood and then basically newer brood, but no like light colored cap brood, right? So we pulled up the month on the weather, and you can see that about 16 days ago is when it started getting into the 32, 29, 20, 18, that stretch that we've had of the cold weather. And that's pretty much when it stopped. And then when it started warming back up in the 40s, then all of a sudden she started laying again. So it was really a direct correlation to the temperature. So it's pretty neat to see that she shut off at about freezing, about 32 degrees outside. She kind of quit and paused for a little while. So
that is some pretty good information right there, Bob. I appreciate you sharing that. It's really cool.
So, well, I mean, Brad was the one. He was watching on the video. He's like, you know what? I just didn't see any like medium range cap brood, right? You see the old stuff that's getting ready to hatch out, and you see 6-day-old larvae, and you see eggs, but you don't see any of that mid-range cap stuff that should be coming out in the next week or so. And so that was it's pretty enlightening, because that means she did take a little brood break in there, and it happened right around the 20 to 30 degrees outside. She kind of stopped laying at all. But
now I didn't notice in your video. Did you see any hive beetles?
Not in. Well, I saw some in some of my really weaker colonies. They had some in it, but the bigger ones, no, I didn't see any. Of course, they could be like Bruce hiding down in the, Bruce's were hiding down in the frames.
Yeah.
But I didn't notice where I normally notice them, just like on top and running around. Because if I see them, I hive tool test them pretty quick, knock them out. But I did take some stings. It's really interesting when you forget to zip that jacket all the way up. Or I had a full suit on today, right? Or they just can walk from your ankles all the way up the jumpsuit, all the way inside, and then get into your veil. And then you got 1,000 of them outside trying to sting you. So you can't just like rip your veil off and try to get the ones out of your veil, right? So you got to walk around and hope you're not getting. I got stung on the ear. I had one in my ear, and I thought I was going to get Bruce Jenny, where it just walked down the thing, but it just kind of got in my ear and just stopped right in there. And I was like, I had to get rid of all those bees and get the veil off. So I actually did crush her in my ear so she wouldn't go up inside. But it was an interesting day. Yeah, when I first started, the zipper was open. I didn't realize it. I flipped the thing down and started walking and setting up my phone and forgot to zip the top. But it was pretty loud too. Just right in your ear. It's pretty bad. Well,
I always say someone's got to come out of this suit, and they're probably going to be me, because I can't stand them in there in my hood like that. I've had that to happen before.
Well, so Nancy asked why my bees were so mad today. Well, it was rainy. Like it was like that light sprinkle, but it was warm, so they weren't clustered. But it's supposed to get cold again, so I wanted to make sure I had pollen on them, so when it got cold, they had something to eat on, right? So we had to do it. Had to go in today. They didn't like it,
and
though.
he didn't use smoke.
No, everything around. Well, I noticed your comment too. I saw your comment. I was gonna light my smoker today. I really was, and I'm like, but everything on the ground was wet. I couldn't even grab pine straw or nothing to put in there. So it was, yeah, they weren't happy. But people. Here's the question. This, I guess, is a question or a statement or something. But I've got so people say I've got mean bees, and it's from the Queen's genetics, right? However, I've had queens from Jose. I've had them from Tuckabee. I've had them from Greg Burns. I've had them from Oliveras. I've had them from Cutix. And then I had the ones that I grafted. So I have like queens from different places from all over. And it doesn't matter. It wasn't like I went in one colony and it was mad in one colony and it was nice. They were just all equally mad. So it's interesting. You know, some places you go and they're just all calm and everything. Just bees don't. That could be the case, you know. But I have some colonies that I thought for sure were going to make it that didn't, and then I thought some for sure were not going to make it that did make it. Like that Ground Zero colony, the one that I was looking at today. I really thought that colony probably wouldn't make it through the winter, and it looks like it's doing pretty good for itself. And then I had a Lyson colony in the Lyson, and it was packed, and I opened that up today because I was going to slap a patty on it, and it had a little cluster that was froze out in the comb. So the only thing I could figure is the queen died in there, and they just slowly dwindled down, and that was it. So it's interesting. We'll see what happened. Yeah,
Rodney may be on something there.
Do what?
That Rodney may be on something there.
I agree. And I told Brad that today. He said, well, it's either something you're doing or you're not doing, right? Because I said, well, the only common denominator in all those colonies is me. So
It could be the
I take the
environment.
responsibility. What'd you say, Spanky?
It could be the environment.
Yeah.
It for sure could. So
They have killer bees. Trying to remember if it's Puerto Rico or somewhere else, and they haven't killed anybody in years because of the environment. They can't put that energy into it. They got to put the energy into preparing for the rainy season.
right. So I'm thinking in a few weeks when things warm up a bit and some pollen starts coming in and they start getting preoccupied with getting themselves organized for the spring, that it'll probably change their demeanor a whole lot too. I'm hoping.
You know, it could be, Bob, that Jose and all them sent you bad mean bees and you just didn't know it.
It's possible. It is possible. I just happened to get every mean queen that they had wherever I
Yeah,
went.
I did get
What'd you
two.
do to make Jose mad?
I did get some of those queens off of Bob when I went down there and brought them back, and I really didn't think the temperament was really that bad. It was probably a mild temperament. So I still got one of those queens that hadn't swarmed out. So they're pretty good queens. So
The other
Jose
queen is
does
in your
good
house
stuff.
right there. That's probably the other queen up in that box.
In this box. Actually, this one came from an old hillbilly here that's had bees for 20 some years, and now that's an aggressive hive right there. They are very aggressive.
They look pretty good from right here.
Yeah, they're doing fairly decent.
There you go.
I tell you, I've been in hives before where one day you could work them without a suit or veil or anything, and the next day you might get it up.
It just depends on the day, right?
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, I got a few Russian queens I can send you, Bob.
They're probably nicer than mine.
The only thing I've noticed that they'll fly out at you, and you just stand there for 2 minutes, they go back in, and then they're fine.
Well, if you noticed on the video today, when I first opened them up, they weren't that bad. But when I brought my phone across the top to show them, then they kind of flew right
Yeah,
out.
you're right.
Yeah.
They went right to
It was
your
like flipping
phone.
a switch.
Mm-hmm.
But that's I noticed if I got my wristwatch on, they'll nail me left and right.
Yeah, if I have a black, not this watch, but I have a big black watch that I wear sometimes.
Yeah.
If I've got that thing on, they hate that watch.
I think it's the electronics that they can sense that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the magnetic field around your phone.
What's the
Yeah.
color of your phone case?
Black. Mine's
There
black.
you go.
I need to get a pink unicorn one or something. So
I stick mine in my pocket so they go to it instead of my veil.
get a Hello Kitty phone case.
I have to get a pink phone.
I'm watching LSU beat my women's basketball team right now. So it's halftime. LSU's winning 41-36. If anybody cares. They said the tickets for that game, because South Carolina is number 1 in the nation right now, is the resale, like the scalper value of those tickets was $2,000 to go watch that game, and I'm watching it for free right here on the computer right now. So. Phil, you did your giveaway today?
Yes, I did.
I saw the video post up, but I was busy. I was getting bullet vials ready for Canada.
So, Phil, what did you give away? I didn't get a chance to watch
I
it
told
yet.
my wife I don't believe my name's on there.
Oh, wait.
You'll have an order coming in here
I
for.
told my wife I don't
Happy
believe my
Birthday.
name's on there, but I finally saw it.
Hey, Tom and Melissa.
Hey, Tom, Melissa, how y'all doing today?
Howdy.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, did anybody sing happy birthday to Mr. Ward?
Oh, gosh. You'll break the internet if you do that,
Nobody
Tom.
sang it.
Wait, let me mute my microphone first. And then...
Well, let's take it.
How's the weather in your area, Tom? How's things looking?
It's looking really good. We were at 44, 45 degrees and just outside of St. Louis here. And normally I just don't like the cold weather, but you know what? It was rainy today. I'll take it because all the temperatures that we've been having here lately, it's been pretty unbearable. So it's been nice to climb out from not having to push snow or spread salt for a little while. I'm very happy to be, back to my daily routine, I guess.
And
Yeah,
Tom,
Tom,
you guys got about what?
we've been getting all that rain coming right up the Gulf, right from Texas up to Mississippi, and right up the Ohio Valley.
You know what? I'll take the rain because last year, and I think I can probably speak for everybody across the country, we were pretty dry, from West Coast to East Coast, and some spots got to have a lot of drought. So this will help us to come out of that a little bit. So, now is a good time for us to be getting all those, I wouldn't call it spring rains, but maybe late winter rains. We can build up that moisture content in the soil, and that way we can have some good honey flows off of those trees. It takes a little while to build that up so those trees can start producing. So I'll take it.
I bet you in a week we've gotten 4 inches of rain.
Yeah. Well, it would be nice if it wasn't all at one time, so it all doesn't just run off. We can have more of a even keel, but I guess we don't really control that, so we'll have to talk to the almighty man above about that.
Right.
DC's got a question there if anybody wants to take that. It's a pretty good question. Y'all see it?
Well, I don't get much cold down here, but I know that it will shut them down.
Well, all I have to say is today it was about 40, like I said, it's about 44 degrees, and it was raining, started up about 11 noon or so around here, and I was outside treating a couple of bee yards with asolic acid, and they didn't come out of the box, but it was pretty overcast even before I started and before it started raining, so I didn't expect them to come out. But it was a good day where I don't feel like they were clustered up super tight, but maybe a loose cluster. And we did kind of pop some tops on them just to kind of gauge and see what was going on with them. And most of them were in the upper part of the double brood boxes that we run. So all seemed to be pretty good. I didn't catch, but I had a couple of nukes. I seen a couple of them were some pretty small clusters in there that probably won't make it. But other than that, everything seemed to be pretty good. We also hit everything with a FLIR camera just to kind of gauge the heat signature inside of them too, to get an idea. But everything looks good here so far.
Awesome.
Mine clustered on my face today.
How did that work out for you?
I think since Ricky started this stream, I think we've gotten an inch of rain. It's still pouring.
That's okay. We'll need it.
See, it's I know we need it for the flowers and the trees for the nectar and all, but it also helps the hive beetles down here. It makes the ground softer for them to do their thing. So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
At least in my
You know, like
yard, because it's sandy.
for us up here, I mean, last year we had too much rain. It ended up, it just made it where they couldn't get out, and it just kept knocking everything off the flowers. So we're down by like half on honey up here.
Yeah, I'm looking at radar right now. Good yellow red stuff coming right over.
Hey, Tom, you're in the northern part of Ohio. Is that right?
I'm in the southwest corner.
Southwest. Okay.
Yeah, down by Indiana and Kentucky.
Gotcha. So elevation wise, you're probably just slightly north where I'm at, but obviously more east.
I'm 800 feet. I'm on top of the hill of Cincinnati area.
I keep getting fog warnings up here. Just open it up. Our current visibility is 0 miles.
0 miles.
Yeah.
I had a honey customer come this evening, and they're like, "Does your husband?" It was talking to my wife. Said, "Does your husband sell bees in the spring?" She said, "Yep." And then she sold her the honey. She said, "I'm thinking about getting a hive, and because she buys her honey from me. So in her mind, she's thinking, well, if I just had bees, then I could make my own honey, and it would be cheaper, right?
Yeah.
Cheaper just to buy the honey, right? Just buy the honey from me. It's cheaper."
Well, if you're selling her the bees and she has the tenacity to stick with it,
Yeah, that's. I mean,
let her go after it.
that's true. If
Whenever we sell nukes in the spring, I try to push everybody toward education, whether it be our Eastern Missouri Beekeepers Association or local clubs around, any one of the conferences around, I always push everybody to education. But what I usually end with is, you have to understand, I would like you to succeed on this. I really do. I want to see everybody win. But at the end of the day, if you choose not to educate yourself and you lose your bees, I'll be here to sell them to you next year.
right,
You
you'll be a repeat customer.
I don't want to be. I like people to succeed. I really do. But again, if they choose not to educate themselves and how to best practices for their area, that's their choice.
And sometimes even when you do that, they still die, right?
That's right.
So it's,
One thing I do is anybody who buys one of my nukes, I mentor them the first year the best I can. And some of them take my advice. Some need a little bit, some need a whole lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes I go over to their place, help them out. Them through that first year, they usually make it the next year.
So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about what's going on here in North Carolina. Some of you guys may have seen the post of we got a beekeeper down next to Wake Forest that is
Yeah, I saw that.
they end up having a lawsuit. I'm not sure exactly what's going on. I've heard both sides of the story now, but it's really bad because if the state decides or that county decides that this girl can't have bees on her property, that could set precedents for North Carolina. Now there is a law standing right now that a city can cut back you down to 5 hives. So this is going to be an upcoming battle. It looks like. I'm not going to pick sides because I don't know exactly what's going on. But if you get a chance, if you haven't watched the videos, I suggest you watch them because if you're in North Carolina, this could hurt us pretty bad as beekeepers.
Yeah. Sometimes I think that people don't always fully understand. I found that, for example, we told you all before 6 different bee yards, one of which is at our house here, and we only have a 1/3 acre property. So I try to be a very good steward of our bees and make certain that I don't keep colonies that have any type of aggressive nature to them to start, but I also keep them from swarming so that it's not a nuisance to any of my neighbors. And then I also found too that it seems like it helps out a lot if you give people just a little bit of education when it comes to honeybees and the importance of them as far as just the food that they eat. Sometimes that it allows a light to click on, and I think people become much more receptive to honeybees, and they start to understand and realize the importance of them. Local pollinators are a good thing, but I think where we're at in the world today, we can't pollinate all the crops that we have on local pollinators. Unfortunately, we have to survive off of the honeybees as our pollination by and large. So sometimes I think if things are presented in a different light, it can help out those situations, And I think often people may make decisions based on ignorance, unfortunately, and just a lack of knowledge, Yeah. So that's a tough situation.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. Rodney, what's going on there is you have somebody in government in the Wake Forest city limits that is having a problem with a beekeeper, basically. I think is what it boils down to. And both sides are kind of being a little stubborn, you might say. But what they don't understand is if you get a law changed or set, it affects everybody in the state. So, I have bees in West Jefferson, North Carolina. It's a city, right? And I would hate for them to say, hey, you can't keep no bees there, or maybe just 5 hives. So it would hurt us all the way across the state of North Carolina.
Just think how big your horizontal hives would get.
Oh, well,
they'd be like 37 feet long. That's one hive.
You put 2 colonies in, nobody would know. So, hey.
I like the way Bob thinks there. You just have to adapt. You have one hive that has 60 colonies in it. That's the size of a.
Yeah, if they restrict how many hives you have, they don't say how many colonies.
That's right.
Yep, that's true.
There's a way around everything.
Well, DC, to be honest with you, I'm thinking about building a 50-foot horizontal hive in my barn, and I was hoping to turn it into the Guinness Book of World Records, being the longest hive there is, but that project has never taken off.
I got 2 10-foot? About 10 feet? Yeah, about 2 10-footers.
Yeah, you may have the record, Tom. You may get in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Well, it can hold 100 frames.
Well, you got me beat, brother.
On 2 levels.
Right.
50 on the bottom, 50 on top. One of my goals is to fill that baby up with 3 hives, 3 big hives, 32 frames, 2 32s and 1 33 frame. 16 on top of 16, basically. So it'll be a 1.5 deeps and 1.5 deeps on top.
Does anybody else? I think somebody else in the chat had mentioned that
first forms are going in that baby, the bigger ones.
Somebody else mentioned in the chat that there's restrictions in their state. Does anybody else have that? Anybody in the chat, or you guys, in South Carolina, anybody's got restrictions on how many hives they can have?
Not that I've heard of down here, but we don't have beekeepers. Y'all do up there, I don't think.
It's too hot down there in South Carolina, Bob.
It's too hot to breathe down here half the time.
What's your weather like down there right now, Bob?
Right this second, it's 66. It got up to 75 or 76 today here.
I don't think I like you anymore.
It rained all day, unfortunately. But I'm going up next month. I'm going up to Manitoba. I'm going to go to see Ian and Brad up there and go to their beekeeping association, their yearly meeting in Manitoba. So it's supposed to be negative 28. So that should be payback for a lot of years right there for me.
Yeah.
David, to answer your question there, to be honest with you, I think for a long laying to be two hives in it without using a queen excluder, you'd probably end up having to have that thing almost, I'd say at least 40 frames, if not more, 44 frames probably. for each hive. Maybe, let's see, no, take that back. Probably more like 24 frames for each hive if you wanted 2 colonies. Now, I do have a setup with a lady right now that's got a colony and a colony, and they're putting honey in the center of this thing. So so far that's working out really good. But we're going to wait to see how that rolls in the springs because they may swarm out. There just might not be enough room in that hive.
Yeah, I was planning not to put any of my triple hive one, just on the 2 ends, the entrances are on the end of their frames. The center one's in the middle. So I'm just curious if it's going to be the center one have brood in the middle and honey on both sides, or the side ones have just one side and the other side all honey. To see what they do. See what they do. But it'll all be good.
Did StreamYard make an update or something? Because I'm in your StreamYard, but it's allowing me to chat as me in the chat box.
I don't know, Bob. Lee knows more about it than I do.
I mean, I didn't notice any difference.
I didn't notice no difference either.
Well, I'm never hardly on this side, right? I'm usually running the stream.
That's probably why.
Yeah.
So a lot of that stuff looks different to me, right? I'm like, oh, okay.
You're
And
just
Lindsay-
like one of us today, Bob.
I've got my Gamecock on. Yes, I do.
So, Tom, you and Melissa, you guys got a conference coming up, what, about 2 weeks? Is that correct?
We do actually. So the Eastern Missouri Beekeepers Association on February 10th is having what we call a one-day workshop. And we've got a pretty good lineup of speakers. Well, let me start by saying the Friday before. So that's on a Saturday, February 10th. The Friday before, we're going to be having for the Eastern Missouri Beekeepers Association is going to have a Mardi Gras party that evening before on Friday at the Aviator Hotel. And then that's the same place we're having the one-day workshop, which is on Saturday. And we've got a good lineup of speakers. Everybody will meet in one large conference room. And there'll be beginner beekeepers as well as intermediate. And then after we have Mr. Ed speak as kind of an opening speaker, just kind of about his beekeeping journey as kind of a lighthearted talk. Then the new beekeepers will split off to their own room, and then the intermediates will stay in the large facility. And we've got everybody from Greg Burns to, I mentioned Mr. Ed. We've got Nathan from Duck River Honey. We've got a local gentleman named Jim Masucci, who actually worked for, I believe it was Monsanto, then Bayer, doing research on honeybees. And
Whiskey Trail Bees, Jennifer and Stanley Evans.
Yeah, Jennifer and Stanley Evans with Whiskey Trail Bees are going to talk about adulterated honey, or what they call funny honey. So that'll be a nice presentation. And of course, we've got a lot of we've got about 12 or 13 really good vendors that are going to be there, starting with Mr. Ricky Rourke there and bringing his beautiful works of art to St. Louis. And I can't remember all the ones that are going to be there, but if anybody's looking for any information on that, you can go to the Eastern Missouri Beekeepers Association website. You can buy tickets for the
Mardi Gras
party the Friday before, and or the workshop there that following Saturday. I will tell you this: we are getting dangerously close to filling the place up. Meaning, I think that at some point here before too long, there probably won't be any tickets left.
I would imagine by Monday there won't be any tickets left.
Yeah, I'm really trying to get our club president, Mr. Dan Brook, to allow us to kind of maybe push the limits on that a little bit further. But I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not, because I really hate to tell anybody no. I feel like that this is going to be a really good, informative day. People are going to be able to learn a lot in a lot of different aspects of beekeeping. And I would hate to tell somebody no that they couldn't come. So we'll have to talk this next year about finding a larger facility to accommodate more people. So we're looking at 200. And like I said, we are literally right on the cusp of that 200 right now. So hopefully we can push those limits just a little bit, but we'll have to see. So if anybody was interested in coming to St. Louis and listen to some great speakers, at this point, there are tickets left. So you would probably want to jump on that. So we've got a lot of great giveaways to happen too. Everybody from Ricky's donating to a beautiful observation hive to Comfort Pros coming and donating a full suit. John Hill is going to be there donating a 7-frame extractor, six frame extractor. See, we have Apamay is going to be there donating a bottom board and a full hive setup. And there's a lot of other great people that aren't going to be there as vendors, but have sent in giveaways and raffle type items. So people are going to have a really good chance to leave with some stuff in their pockets for either next to nothing or just a flat out giveaway. So we're pretty excited about it, and we're really glad to have Ricky on board. I think that what he does there is for what he makes and what he charges, it's a steal. So
Appreciate that.
We've got 3 of them ourselves, and I never anticipated to have that many, but we've kind of turned our backyard, and I'm still kind of working on it a little bit, turn it into like a bunch of the horizontal bees showpieces back there. So
Now, Bob, I think South Carolina's got a conference coming up too. Is that not correct?
Yeah, it's usually, I think it's the 3rd week. Let me check. I'll check for sure.
Yeah, go check that if you don't mind. Are you going to be there, Bob? Are you going to be selling some of your product there? Or?
I am not, probably. I know. It's been rough. It's been a rough end of the last year and beginning of this year.
Right.
Let's see. The calendar.
I would be there, Tom, but I can't make it that weekend.
Wrong one.
Family first.
Events. Sorry. 20 January 23rd through January. Well, the monthly meeting. February. Hold on.
Yeah, there you go.
Not seeing the annual meeting. Last year it was right after Hive Life.
I thought it was somewhere in March. Is that not correct? Or is it in February too?
I'm seeing the regular February 23rd and 24th spring meeting,
Okay.
which is when I will be in Canada.
Charlie, you guys got anything going up there where you're at?
You're muted, Charlie.
He's on mute, I think. Still can't hear you, Charlie.
Charlie.
Now, or how about that?
You can hear you now. Go ahead.
All right. We've got 3 state meetings a year. We
Wow.
got one coming up here. I think it's next month. Close to Baltimore. And let me see if I can bring it up.
You know, the Nobby was a great place to go to and get a really good education. And there was so many people there. Sometimes these little bitty conferences, you can really get to meet people even on a tighter level. So sometimes it can be really good to go to and network, especially in your own state. We'll be going to the North Carolina conference with, I think Randy's going to be there and Mr. Ed's going to be there. So those little conferences, you know, you can get your name out in your own state, you know, so they're really nice to be able to do that. And we're trying to move out a little bit, like going and seeing Tom and Melissa a little bit. But these conferences are great to go to.
Yeah. Maryland State meeting is February the 10th, and from 8:30 to 4, and it's going to be at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County location. I had this speaker actually Zoom into my club meeting, Bill Heschbach. He's going to talk about thermoregulation and ventilation, basically upper ventilation, yay or nay, and also insulated type hives. That's where if you watch that, I guess it was a short here about a week ago where I had that insulated hive and it talked about the thermal dome inside of it. That's where I got a lot of that information. He is an engineer and he's up in Connecticut, and he did a really good job. He's also going to talk about pollen, and he's got a book. And then there's Garrett Slater. He's a Genomic breeding, talking about breeding, queens and stuff like that, and drone research. And then there's another guy, as a science, he's a postdoctoral guy, and talking about genetics and stuff like that. So
the Heschbach, he's a really good speaker. He was at he did Zoom with RB Club back in October, I believe. His talk is really interesting.
Yeah, did he do the one about the insulation hive and the wooden hive and all that?
He calls it a condensing hive.
Yeah, the condensing
hive. That's right.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you. When they said condensing hive, I'm thinking I'm going
Making
to
it smaller.
condense the hive down smaller.
Yeah, I do.
And he's
condensing
talking
hive
about
hive.
condensing the moisture
That's
in
right.
the hive.
Yep.
And all that. So he did a video with Dr. Peck.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
I think he did one with Dr. Peck. It was
But
actually
he did not have his. Seemed like they didn't use his PowerPoint presentation very much in that speak. And when he came and did our Zoom meeting, he used a PowerPoint presentation, and it was a lot better than what you get to see with when he talks to Dr. Peck and all.
It's that video you're referring to, Charlie, is definitely a must watch for anybody that's interested in listening to it. He has a lot of graphs and a lot of scientific research that backs that up, and he's kind of changed my mind a little bit about a few things. To be really honest with you,
Mm-hmm. I put that little short video, and I posted it on my Facebook page, and I got this guy that it was a shout about I did this and did that, and it was about you don't need insulation and all this kinds of stuff. And I'm sitting there reading this post from this guy, and it's like I can just you can tell this guy has not kept up with the most recent research out there. And it's especially like this guy here, Hirschbach, about insulation and all. He stated the same thing that I stated years ago before I got into it, where the insulated hive, in my mind, and this is the way he stated in his little rant, was that the bees are going to get warmer in there and they're going to eat more food and all that kind of stuff. In actuality, it is the exact opposite. They don't have to heat their cluster up in order to, because of the cold temperatures. They will eat less in an insulated hive, not more, because they don't have to work so hard to keep things warm and all that stuff. And then they've talked, like you say, the thing about upper ventilation and stuff. And that's some of the things that he did clarify about insulation and the actual science behind regular insulation that we use in our houses today. and where the transfer of heat and things. And he also refers back to like AI Root way back here, back in the 1800s, what they did, like the quilt boxes and stuff. Well, we have these quilt boxes that people use today, especially the new beekeepers, and they're putting shavings in. And actually what they were doing back then, they were putting quilts in there, trying to insulate the hive. And they did not have our modern styrofoam insulation, which is, much more efficient and stuff. And his talk's quite interesting and quite informative and everything. So anybody ever gets to see him, it's worthwhile. So
Yeah, his thing was more about I guess how, you only really want to insulate the top of the hive, because you need that, the bees need that condensation in the winter because they need that water, right? So that way it just condenses on the walls of the hive. And if the top is insulated because of the thermoregulation, the water's not going to condense on the top. It's only going to condense on the side. So, he's not talking about like insulating the entire hive, just the top.
Yeah.
And
he did, it's like dry cut.
What's
They're
happened
saying
doing
you don't
this
have
for 3 years that way.
Well, it's kind of so, and he kind of talks about they don't really need that ventilation, that upper ventilation either. And if you guys watch Frederick Dunn, he's been talking about that for like the last year, that the bees, he doesn't feel like the bees need that upper ventilation. They don't need any other ventilation besides the entrance. That's how they live in bee trees. They don't have an upper ventilation hole or anything like that. So it all kind of ties together.
And something else I heard about that upper ventilation was the CO2 level in that hive. You get that upper ventilation, it lets that CO2 out. And honeybees like that a little bit better.
That's right.
Well, that's one of the things that Dr. Heschbach talks about also, is the CO2 levels and how the bees are able to metabolize it, or just the way that their bodies work, that they're able to, their bodies are not human bodies. They metabolize things differently. They're able to handle higher doses of different gases and whatnot. So the CO2 isn't really an issue, for them.
Yeah, he referenced.
I've read studies that it actually helps the bees not to eat so much during the winter time.
That's right. Yeah, he does mention that. It actually,
it's actually a good thing.
Yeah, something about it puts them in a
into a
state, some kind of a
coma-like
state.
state.
Yeah,
and all. But when it comes to you got to remember something. Why is the water condensing? Because it's hitting the cold. You got hot air hitting the cold surface.
That's right.
So if you put insulation above there, that surface isn't cold.
That's right.
So, and then that's why I was talking about my short that I put out here about it. I have a 6-frame license hive. Everybody else's front entrances were snowed in. And this one here was snowed in, but it had about a 2-inch hole in the center. So under Hirschbach's science, I don't have any ventilation in that insulated hive. So the hot air rises and then it hits the top. And of course it banks down the sides. And actually it creates a pressure, I guess you would call it, where it doesn't let the air actually come in that easy because of the hot air going out. And that's why I feel like, that's what I said in my video, that it helped melt the ice or the snow in that small hole and stuff like that. I had a guy, I was talking to Bob and I guess it was Brad one night. One guy, he was in another chat and he talked about, well, I got to run out here and I got to brush the snow off the landing boards. And I said, why? I says, number one, it's going to block the cold air. If it's, here it was snowing about 5 or 6 inches and it's wind blowing. It blocks that air from going into that hive and making it cold. Snow is porous. So I've had some people say that, oh, they're going to suffocate. Well, no, they're not going to suffocate, and because beehives are not that tight. And I said, in time, if you watched Ian Stepler, some of his movies, where the snow was on the ground and it's covering their entrance up, here they have this nice cavity in behind there where the heat out of that hive is melting that snow down, and the water is getting on the landing board, and they can get out and get a drink of water from the snow and stuff. So I left mine for the last 3 days, or I guess it's been a week. And now I go out there today. Everybody is, I took the video of my short today, and they were just coming out of them hives, and all the snow's gone. So it works fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've set my hives up about 3 years ago. I run about R20 underneath my solid bottom board, and I run R10 all year round up on top, and I let all that condensation on the sides form. And
So
I've been doing that for 3 years, and I only lose 1 or 2 hives every year.
So do you see any moisture when you're running that insulation up there inside hive, or any evidence of it?
Just on the side walls, and maybe a little bit on the bottom boards at the bottom because it runs down. But once you get into the springtime, about this time of year, they're sucking all that water down.
And that goes the same
What
thing
about-
when you're doing cutouts. A lot of times I see that, there's a little bitty hole and you have this big chamber. And if you've seen the last video with the big, super long horizontal hive, or wasn't horizontal, but the big one in the can room, that one actually had some mildew on the combs themselves. So there's a lot of moisture in that can room. So I think the bees kind of know what they need. I think that's what West Cliff Honey Company right there just said. They kind of really know what they need, and they can manage moisture and a whole lot more than we feel like they can.
Yeah, I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. When you start looking at bees that are kept in the wild, whether or not they're in a tree cavity or they're in a structure or home, and you do enough removals on those, you'll see, the amount of space that they look for. You'll see the direction they generally face. You'll notice the way that they place things in the hive, or how they put honey in certain areas or brood in other areas. That it's all by design. And I think sometimes when we try to manage them in certain boxes, some things are a little bit unnatural. In some ways, I think by and large, everything as far as the Langstroth hive is pretty good. But I think sometimes we get a little too creative and try to do too much when it comes to that, because we look at it from a perspective of us, thinking, well, we might be uncomfortable in this situation or that situation. And we're trying to look at it from a perspective of how we feel, and bees are not the same animal, not at all. Even referencing back to the higher CO2 levels, we think, well, we wouldn't be able to survive in there. Well, we're not bees either. God designed us much differently. The insect and then us. We're not the same creature whatsoever. So I think sometimes we have to not look at it in that perspective. And it's really nice to see all this information that we get nowadays from all these great researchers, and we're able to share it much easier through sources like this, to where we can be better beekeepers and take that information and make it work for us. And obviously what works down for Ricky in his area may not work for me specifically, because our climates are different, and same thing goes for Mr. Charlie up there in Maryland. He may have to manage things slightly different than what I might have to in here in the Midwest. So a lot of things vary. So I think sometimes we can all say things differently, but all say them in the same way, because what works for me doesn't work for Ricky. And even management styles vary a little bit too. So I get that, Ricky.
Yeah. You're in what, Minnesota or Missouri, Tom?
I'm in Missouri. I'm 35 miles west of St. Louis City. So I'm on the eastern side of the state.
So I'm just thinking about, I know a friend of mine, she lives in Minnesota, and it's like a freezer box state. It's just, it gets so cold there that the condensation on her windows freezes. They can't even see outside the house for months until spring hits, and I don't know whether is that cold in your area too?
Not at all. I will say though, before I make myself a liar, the last 2 weeks have been like that.
Oh, yeah.
Because it has been a freezer box here. I mean, it's been, I would say, abnormally cold. But generally speaking, there are years that our ground doesn't even freeze up, completely. You may get a skin on top of there, what have you, but we're really that transitional state from north to south. We can get some of y'all's warmer weather and really humid weather, but we can also see cold temperatures too. So we take some pretty good swings there. But I think overall, this is a pretty easy state when it comes to winter. We don't see very harsh temperatures, or if we do, they're pretty short-lived.
Yeah. No, I mean, we were getting in the 20s here at night, late or low 20s and stuff like that. So, but the bees, like I say, today they were bouncing off my head as I'm trying to take that little video coming out of there.
What temperature did you hit today, Charlie?
It was like 55 degrees.
So you actually got a little warmer than we did. We only hit up about 44. But
Yeah,
we're
like
in the mid-50s.
we were between 50 and 55 degrees. It's 51 right now. And they
I
were
hit 58.
Yeah, they were more or less boiling out of the hives. And and I when I was taking my short video, I just walked down across the front of them, and they were just, it was nice to see that everybody is surviving.
Yeah.
And this year I had one 5-frame nuke that, because of my mistake, almost killed them, but they are surviving the winter so far. Of course, my hives are, most of the small nukes are in the back of a barn where they have a windbreak. So, and then where I have my, like the hives behind me there, they're past the barn. I put carpet around them just for a windbreak situation. So,
Joey, do you do anything in your area for moisture level? Because you guys are always hot down there. I mean, is there anything you do? Do you do upper entrances, or what you guys do down there?
Now, if I've got 3 deeps on, I might open the top up a little bit in the summertime. Normally, I don't do much for it. I do have screen bottoms on most of my hives, though, but I'm working away from that.
Well, I've been trying a few screen bottom boards on my horizontal hives, and it does help with moisture control quite a bit. So just kind of want to see how that runs through winter before, I give that an okay that I think it works good.
That's what we use, is pretty much all screen bottom boards. But, for me, I don't know that I really have a strong opinion either way, whether it be solid bottom or screen bottom. I think a screen bottom's great for a little bit of ventilation, but I think probably more importantly, I believe that it's probably more so for an IPM method, to check for mite drops and things of that nature. Somebody else I was talking with, Jane from Isabees, she is our local beekeeping supplier and a very knowledgeable person, EAS certified master beekeeper. Her and I were talking a little bit about that. And one thing that she brought up that I kind of hadn't really thought about too much, she said, when people sometimes will level off their hives or keep them slightly tipped forward as they're setting up a stand, in Missouri, because we can have freeze thaw cycles happen very quickly. You'll get a ground heave and then it'll settle down a little bit. So at that point in time, sometimes that can cause a hive stand to unlevel itself. And if it potentially does it to where it pitches backwards and you have a solid bottom board, you can actually have moisture that rains in the front entrance and then washes back to the back of the hive over time. And then if you get another really cold cycle, it can freeze inside there. So I guess that could be a drawback that I never really thought much about, but it was a really good point.
Usually my solid bottom boards, I'll drill a drain hole in the back.
That's a good idea.
It's a very good idea. Even with the horizontal hives, that's a good idea.
Well, guys, I'm about to call it quits tonight. I got some things I got to take care of tomorrow, so I'll see y'all later.
Hey, Ed, we appreciate you coming on tonight, brother.
Have a good night.
Right.
So Eric's asking, do you think bottom screens help with mite population, keeping it down? Does anybody agree with that or think that's the case? Or
I don't think so. Science already proved it's only, what was it, 17%, something like that, when they first came out, or 7%. I think it was either 17 or 7%.
I think you're actually right, Charlie. I recently heard something about that too. So it was
They did a science experiment on it.
That's right.
Years ago. And all.
Yeah.
I mean, the best way to keep the mice down is treat.
Yep.
I mean, that's
Totally agree with that.
in multiple products. My program is kind of depends when your honey season's over with and your temperatures and all that stuff. That's when it comes to treating with mites and products, it's all about location and weather conditions and all that stuff. For me, I can start in late July and I go all the way through till March with 3 different types of products. OA through the winter, and let's say Aprivar, Aprigard, and Formic Pro works for me.
Charlie, how many OA treatments do you like to do over the winter time? I'm just curious how you approach that.
I like it to be 45 degrees.
Okay.
And 45 I found I used to say 48, but then the bees are starting to get itchy to get out of the hive.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get them at 45, then I can block the front end off with I take styrofoam insulation, 1.5 inches and make 1.5 inches square. It fits whatever, let's say a 10 frame hive where it's a little bit longer, but you can squeeze it in there because the bees will push it out.
Yeah.
Because they got the strength to do that. And I try to treat twice a month through the winter. If I don't, I'll get at least once a month.
Yeah.
And it seems to work well for me. I used to treat like from September into October before the time change. And I had it in my mind that, hey, Jose, and I had it in my mind that it would be like Aprivar. Aprivar only treats the thoracic mites. And I figured, well, if I hit those bees every week for 6 or 8 consecutive weeks until the time change, because I'm out there in the evenings doing this, that I would be as good as Aprivar. And then I upped it 1 year to twice a week, which was tremendous amount of work. And I lost like 50% of my hives 1 year. And I was like, what the heck happened? And I found that I had to listen to what the science folks stated, is that the highest kill rate is when they have the least amount of brood in your hive.
Yeah.
So that seems to be the most effective.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the wintertime, I have chloroplast boards underneath my hives. I do have screen bottoms. I put the chloroplast in. I don't like the air blowing up into the hive. And I will pull them out about 3 days later and just kind of glance at them. I don't sit there and count. I don't have the, what do you call it? Those boards that got the cross lines on them and all that stuff. They're supposed to use that in some way of calculating and all that kind of stuff. And I just look at the board. If there's a lot of mites, when I know I've got an issue, if there's 15 or 25 mites, it's not a big issue on the size of the hive. I found this year by observation that, what was it? Last year I did Formic Pro in August. We had a week or two of low heat and humidity, and I took that window of opportunity and did it. And then I did Aprivar, and then I had pretty good mite drops for several months there, when I would hit them with oxalic acid. This year I did Aprivar, and then I did Formic Pro after September, where we had a 2-week window of low heat and humidity. And what I've noticed this year after OA drops is very minimal So I think that the Formic Pro or formic acid, since it will go underneath the cappings and kill the mites, that I think it's very effective. As far as the effectiveness of Aprivar, I'm not sure about that. You know, there's a lot of talk about that, whether it's what the effective rate of that is still today, whether the mites are resistant or whether they're not. You know, or some mites might be more resistant than others. You know, depending what's in the hive. So that's kind of I try to do it once or twice a month.
You know, talking about Apivar, I don't have much experience about it, but I have heard people talk about not leaving them in the hive too long so that I believe it was suspect that you may have some mites that could build a resistance to it by leaving them in too long.
Well, Apivar is a 6. Yeah, they all talk about the days, and it's 42 days. Well, that means it's 6 weeks. You put it in a hive, you come back in 6 weeks, and you pull it back out. Get the strips out of your hive. And then with Formic Pro, I've had Dr. Sammy Ramsey, come to my club meetings or Zoom. Actually, he was at my club meeting, sitting in my parking lot, in the church parking lot, doing his whatever you call it to get your PhD, disorientation or whatever they call that. And he talked. He was the first. It was like a huge. He talked about, well, you know, your bees died in March and this, and, you know, he had it all nailed down. This was before everybody knew what he was talking about. And it was like, finally, somebody give me some answers to my questions. And then, of course, he proved to all the old science guys that they were totally wrong. And about, you know, the fat bodies and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that he found was, like with Formic Pro, is that if you put, there's the 1 strip method and the 2 strip method, 2 strip at one time or 1 strip every, I think it's 7 or 10 days. You put the second one in. He found that the 1 strip method does not penetrate the cappings as well as the 2 strip method. But you gotta,
Nod says to do the 2 strip. They say the 1 strip does not penetrate if you ask them. They say
right.
Hey guys, I'm off. Thanks, Ricky.
You heading out, Tom?
Yeah, I'm heading out. Everybody have a good night.
Night, Tom.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, we'll be heading
So,
out here in
yeah.
a few more minutes.
So anyway, I try to do the 2 strip method. I try to be 75 degrees to 80, and I try to have low humidity. And that way, I have not lost any queens when I follow that. You know, it says 85 degrees. I want it 5 degrees. I want it no higher than 80, at least for the first 4 days. That's when it's at its most potency, and that kind of thing. And low humidity, if that's doable. You know, you have to find out whether. I mean, like Joey down there, he's down there in Mississippi, where Louisiana, where it's hot and humid all the time. I think you'd have to do it. You'd have to use that in the wintertime in January. You know. Type of thing. You would have to, you know, you have to gauge it to where you live, like you said before. And all that. I did get on your Facebook page and check your videos out. You got a nice setup there with a pumping tank and all that stuff.
Yeah, I actually just built that this year, and I have to say that was just me copying other people's setup. Last year I fed, I got in a super sack, which was 2,200 pounds of granulated sugar. And I had put that into smaller, maneuverable.
No, I put that into smaller, maneuverable containers.
Okay. Well, listen, I'm the one that got it off the truck with the skid steer, guys. So I feel like I deserve a little bit of pat on the back here.
I scooped it into 5-gallon buckets.
She did a really good job.
No, it wasn't 5-gallon buckets.
So
It
how
was-
are you liquefying or mixing your sugar?
So I use a 2-inch trash pump on there, and I have a bypass on there that'll allow me to shut it down a little bit if I'm actually pumping it out. But then I start mixing it in slowly.
So
And yeah, so I let it agitate for a while and let it settle. Let it agitate for a while, and I just use regular tap water. I didn't use hot water or anything like that. And then I did use a large. I don't remember how many liters it was of the Hive Alive liquid. I put that in there, so I was feeding them late season with that to try to build that up in their guts. Trying to create a healthier gut biome was what my goal there was. But I probably had about $800 into building that. So I feel like I did a pretty good job and kept within a pretty good budget. But when you end up almost cooking 1,700 pounds of sugar
in your tiny kitchen.
on your kitchen, you'll only do that one time.
No,
Once.
you don't do that.
Yeah, that's
Unless you're Robert.
Yeah, that's right. It's well, I mean, the way you can go to my YouTube site and you can see what I do. I have I've got a 55-gallon honey drum, and I set it up because all the stuff that it was pretty much given to me. Yeah, all of it was, and I had a guy give me a crab pot burner, and I had it modified a little bit to get it lowered down for height and all, and so I can sit there with a 10-pound bottle of propane like you have on your grill, and I put 20 gallons of water in there. I heat the water up, and then I throw in 250 pounds of sugar. I've got a drill with a rod. It sits there and mixes as I'm pouring it in, and then I let it sit overnight and let it cool down, and then I have a forklift like you have that skid steer, and then I've got a 40-gallon pump tank that I got from Tractor Supply with a diaphragm pump on it, and then I off pump it, just like you do.
Yeah.
And all that. I just make 40-gallon batches. So for me, the 40-gallon batches actually works out well for the amount of hives I got.
That's perfect.
In your situation, you got 100 hives or more?
Yeah.
So you're going to be like James McNally. Have you all watched James McNally's videos?
I don't believe I have. No.
Yeah, go to Old McNally Farm. He did a wonderful job of creating a tote. He had I guess you would call it a manifold in there, and he has holes in it, and it makes the water up.
We might have seen that video because you did end up putting holes in the one.
Yeah, I did. So on the return line that goes down into the tank, I had it to go down, but then I also had it run across the bottom of the tank.
That's what James did.
And then I drilled 1/2-inch holes in there, and I spaced them about 6 inches apart. So when it would shoot the syrup down into the bottom, it would agitate, so nothing could settle on the bottom. It pushed it up on the bottom of it. So maybe we did actually watch that, because that wasn't my original idea. I stole that from somebody, and it could have been him.
Yeah, that's James. He's one of our friends of mine. Oh, well, Bob's friend, my friend. Actually, he came and stopped by Bob's house, and he's out now. Let's see,
Grand Prairie, Alberta, Canada.
Okay.
And excellent engineer. And he made up, the quick attaches and all that kind of stuff he used, and that kind of thing. But he did a great job of mixing it, at that volume. And when your situation is, you need a big volume of sugar water. So this, it's you scale to whatever scale amount of hives you are.
That's right.
And for me, I went from buckets to the 40-gallon tank, and it's like, I was done lifting buckets. My shoulders told me they were done lifting buckets. and I, and like Bob said, here I am cooking, I get it at the end of the day, and I'm cooking till, 11 o'clock at night, and I only got 25 or 30 gallons of sugar water, and you would pour all that into 4 or 6 hives in the top hive feeders, and then the next day they sucked it down within 6 to 8 hours, the first batch. And I'm like, all right, we got to start all this over again. And then you got ants in the house, you know, because they're smelling all this stuff. And so that's when I, you know, got this cooking machine started up 2 or 3 years ago. That's the way to go. You know, it just keeps everything outside. And I like heating the water because it makes the sugar melt and stays melted.
Yeah.
In your situation, you can put hot water in there.
Yeah.
You know, out of a hot water heater.
Yeah,
And-
I thought about doing that, but this was my first go around on it when I was feeding that and made it. And I thought, you know, I can perfect it as I go along. I feel like it worked out really well, and I'm anxious to use it even more this next year.
Right.
So you all keep making those great videos, and I'll keep stealing those ideas.
That's right.
But,
Yeah.
but I promise you, I'll give you all props. I won't I won't bring it off as my own idea here.
Well, I think
Well-
like the original idea, well, of course, Cayman made one a couple of years ago, and we saw that. But the latest rendition that you kind of made it from was Bruce Jenny, what he did, and then you saw that the other one from James McNally with the
Yeah. Old McNally Farm.
Yeah.
You would.
so
He-
kind of
he's,
combining those two together to get what you did.
Yeah.
James is definitely a sideliner, if not going towards commercial now, because he's doing what?
But he went from 15 to 75, and then from 75 to 300.
Wow.
But no, he's
Well,
also
he's up-
a great builder. He could really build stuff. You ever watch his channel? He's more talented than I am at building stuff. He built me a grafting table. It was awesome. So
He's got an engineering background, and I mean he built a wax melter? No, it was a dipping tank. It looked like something from a factory, you know. And he's he just bought a 60 frame Cowan. You know, he did what, Bob? 15,000 pounds of honey, wasn't it?
Yeah, about 15,000
But
pounds.
now he's up in the territory where he got 1,200 acres of canola sitting out there.
Oh, wow.
All right, so he's, you know, the bees have got plenty of feed to bring honey in.
Yeah.
So, but you know, you just subscribe to him, and he's doesn't put out a lot of videos racing because he's very busy, but
Yeah, he works a full-time job too, so
he works a full-time job on top of all that, and it's pretty demanding job too. But he comes on my Friday night chat and comes on Bob's, and then you got Brad from Faith Apiaries. He does what, he's running a couple hundred hives.
yeah, 200 hives, I think.
Yeah, he's up in Canada. He has, I mean, you're palletized, aren't you? Aren't you, most of your hives, Tom?
Oh, no, I'm not.
You're not running pallets yet?
No, I don't think I have. I don't really have aspirations to do that. And I don't really know that I want to grow a lot more. Pretty comfortable where I'm at. You all heard me talk about last time how I own a landscaping company, and the two of those seasons clash. So, you know, I still want to remain to have time with my wife and family, and then be able to go to some of these conferences that we jet off to, and, you know, enjoy talking to other like-minded folks like you all. And then we like to head down to Table Rock Lake in southern Missouri, and play on the lake for long weekends. So I don't really want to keep myself too much busier, even though I don't like sitting still. So that helps.
Well, running 100 highs, I mean, I run 30 by myself, and that's bad enough, you know. And then, of course, the summertime, you build up to maybe 50.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, people like Brian from Flower Street Highs, you know, he had asked me, aren't you going to, you know, he's at a point in his life, he wants to expand and go up. And I'm like, I went up and I came back some, and I found my sweet spot, which is right around 30.
Yeah.
For what I want to do. And I'm selling all the honey I could possibly process, and selling nukes, and trying to become a better queen rearer. Hopefully I'll do that this year.
Ricky, you washing dishes up there?
I don't know where all that noise is coming from, to be honest with you.
That's teenage boys in the kitchen washing dishes.
Ching, ching, ching.
I'm pretty sure our twin son Andrew's breaking all his mother's dishes in there. So
They don't have to wash them no more.
well, he'll have to work a little overtime because he'll have to replace him. That's how it works around here. You gotta keep, you
You
know.
break it, you bought it.
He's almost done. He's almost done. Like,
Yeah.
you're getting there.
It's your turn.
But no, anyway, I mean, you know, we all have different levels of what we're doing and stuff like that. But that's what it makes it fun, where we can talk about it and do different ideas and stuff like that. You know,
Yeah.
how to accomplish the same thing, but maybe at a different level.
Well, I would like to keep this fun for me. I don't want to turn it into a full-time job or career. I'm not saying that the future couldn't hold something different if it didn't go that direction, but I'm pretty content with what we do. Melissa here, my wife, and I really enjoy doing it together. So it's a way for her and I to kind of
As
hang
long
out.
as she's on the other hive and you're not, right?
Right.
Right.
You remember that conversation, don't you?
As long as
Yeah,
we're good.
she's on one row and you're on the other.
Right. I jokingly said to her before, I said, you know, when she had told me this was her idea, the beekeeping, you know, we talked about that was her idea, and it was. And then I kind of took it and then just decided to see where we could go with it, you know. And then she jokingly says, you know, this is my bee operation that you're hijacking. And I had to remind her that my landscaping company paid for it all.
That's
So
right.
we get to tease each other a lot. You know, we'll go back and forth with each other, but we love each other to death. And she has some of her ideas and I have mine, but by and large, we come together pretty well on it.
Yeah, but the thing of it is the bees bring you two together and work together. I don't know whether she helps you out in your landscaping area or not, but
I've been fired from landscaping 3 times, I think.
well, see, this is something that you two can share
That's right.
together, and that makes the whole situation better.
He
Yeah.
kicks me off
And,
those landscaping crews.
Yeah,
You ain't that bad if you've been fired 3 times. That means you've been really nice.
yeah, you can have that landscaping bit. That's too much backbreaking for me.
That's why you-
At least
That's
I
why
would
you
think.
hire employees.
Yeah, I know, but you know, it's like I had some guys around here who were landscapers, and they started out and they had plenty of help, and then they were sitting there hemming and hawing about buying a rock hound. You know, at the time, that's when they first came out, and it's like, you know, we couldn't get the help to work, and he said, "That's it, I'm buying a rock hound, rock picker," you know, and
Yeah.
they grade these big yards off, you know, big area, you know, where I think it windrows the rocks into a row
Yeah.
like that.
Like a Harley rake.
Yeah, it was back, I don't know, 25 years ago. They had it was first came out, the idea of sitting there sifting the rocks out, and they would kind of put it over into either they would throw it into the bucket of the skid loader, or there's one that would sit there and put the rocks in a row. Then you would come back with a bucket and pick them up off the ground.
Sounds like the beginning stages of what they call a Harley rake now, which that's a pretty useful tool.
Yeah.
We've kind of gotten there a little bit too. Sometimes you invest in more a little bit nicer tools because you understand that machine, unless you don't maintenance, it's not going to call in sick. It'll be there, and it'll work through the hardest of temperatures and everything else. It'll get it done as long as you maintenance it.
Yeah, that's for sure. But like I say, like I said in the chat, I invite you to come on tomorrow night with me. And
Sure.
We have sort of the same kind of concept here, open mic and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I'm gonna shut down for the night, and like Charlie said, his live stream is on tomorrow night. We got Tim and Hannah's theirs on Sunday night. Bob will probably go live here in just a few minutes. I would
No,
say.
not tonight.
Well, not tonight, he says. Well,
He did his live earlier today.
oh, it's live. Okay.
Short line.
Well, I just want to say I appreciate everybody in the chats, and I read a lot of the chats where everybody else is talking, and it was nice having everybody on here tonight. Joey and Phil, we do appreciate you guys, and nice to see Bob on here with us tonight, and Melissa and Tom. We'll see you guys in a couple of weeks, but
Sounds
we
good.
do appreciate everybody, and we want to say good night.
Happy birthday, Ricky.
Yep. Happy birthday, Ricky.
Yeah,
Appreciate
have a birthday.
Good night. Happy birthday.
Yeah, have a good one.
Good night.
Night.